Scotland, after a 1-1 draw, winning in penalties 5-4, headed to their first major tournament since 1998. To discuss/celebrate, we welcome in Don Hutchison, Steve Nicol, and of course, Ian Darke. Don, I'll start with you. I was following you on Twitter during this match, and about 90 seconds in the match, you're like, oh, Scotland's off to a brilliant start. I was watching 2 or 3 games at once. I expect them to be up 1 or 2-0. No, it was still 0-0. Your tweeting only got more frantic and a little profane after that. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm good now, mate. My language was a little bit potty on on Twitter, I must admit, because I was so excited, Sebi, the way the game started for Scotland. You know, the first 15 minutes of the game, Serbia never had a kick, and Scotland pushed them back, and they were creating chances. And then the more the game went on, Scotland were absolutely, to a man, brilliant. I mean, every single one of them was sensational. And then, you know, Andy Robertson missed a golden chance at 0-0, and then just after that, we scored a goal, and Ryan Christie gets his goal. Lyndon Dykes was amazing up front. He was bullying their centre-halves. There were star performers. Scott McTominay, who was playing as a third centre-half, was exceptional. And there was just star performers right across the pitch. Then the last 15, 20 minutes, we looked, I think, in control. And then all of a sudden, with 2 minutes to go, Serbia bring Luka Jovic on, who's worth about £50 million, and maybe that might be the difference. He then scores a header. And then you just think, we've seen this story before. You know, controlled a game. You know, I was part of the Scotland squad when we lost a late goal to Van Bounten and Belgium scored and we got knocked out. We had to go through England and go through that playoff scenario and didn't qualify. And then somehow Scotland in extra time just completely hung on and dug their heels in and grafted and got to penalties. And in the end, the standard of penalties was just truly exceptional.
Stevie, we often worry for your health during a Liverpool match. I can only imagine what you were going through in the final moments of this one. What did you make of the Scotland performance and in the end the result?
I absolutely 100% agree with Don. Scotland deserved to win this game. I mean, I was talking yesterday, but I couldn't figure out how they were going to do it. Away from home, you know, they had got some results, but they'd been so lucky. And they'd also had some horrible results. And I was wondering where the goals were coming from. And then I looked at the Serbian side. And man for man, pretty much, there's more ability in them. But I'll tell you what, from the start till the 89th minute, Scotland was by far the better side. They were the ones that started on the front foot. They were the ones that tried to get people forward when they could. Yes, they had a good solid line, but they were trying to get forward. Christie had a couple of shots, as Don said, scored a great goal. You know, so up until the 89th minute, I'm like, absolutely, we deserve this, and we deserve to go through. And then, of course, you know, poor old McTominay, he makes a mistake. He leaves Jovic and attacks the ball and gets caught underneath it, and it's 1-1. And then from there, you kind of fall into the, well, I've seen this movie a couple of times before, but I'll tell you what, you talk about digging in and fighting and spitting and doing anything you can to get a result. And then the penalties were fantastic. And I'm glad McTominay scored with a great penalty. Because up until that mistake, centre-back, he's not a centre-back, he's a centre midfielder. At centre-back, he was absolutely fantastic. Hadn't put a foot wrong. So I was really glad that he stuck it in. But then McLean's penalty was absolutely brilliant. You talk about cool and calm and nonchalant. So it was left to Marcel to make the save. And he came up with it. So we will be playing at Hampden Park, I believe, in the Euros.
Ian, Serbia were significant favourites ahead of this match. Do you agree with the boys? Scotland deserve victors?
Absolutely. They played all the football. I thought their attitude was great, and I'm so pleased. I'm only surprised that Don and Stevie are still sober after a night like this. They've been waiting 22 years.
Well, come on here.
For a lot of that time, and I'm sure the boys would agree with it, they've been a dead loss. You wonder where all the talent had gone from. And this is the country that produced players like Kenny Dalglish and Dennis Law and Jim Baxter and Jimmy Johnston, and I could go on, a long list. And that talent line seemed to dry up. They hadn't been in a major tournament since France 98. I thought their mentality for the game tonight was absolutely spot on. They deserved to win about 3-0, 3-1 in the 90 minutes. They did it on penalties. And I know I'm English, and I know there's England and Scotland are going to play each other at the Euros, but I am really, really pleased that the Tartan Army and Scotland have made it.
Don, to Ian's point, there were people in Scotland calling this the biggest game in a generation. Is that overstating it? overstating it? And then is this result really going to be a pivotal turning point?
No, it's not overstating it at all. As Ian said, it's been, 2 decades since Scotland have been to a major tournament. It's been horrendous. Some campaigns have been disastrous, and we never looked like getting there. I think this one's looked a lot better. Stevie said we rode our luck and had some bad performances, but the Nation League has sort of given us this extra chance to get there. And what I was pleased about Serbia more than anything was looking at the reaction when the players and the final whistle had went. And I seen the backroom staff who were there when I was there, which was many, many a year ago, and a few of the doctors and a few of the physios were still there. So they've stayed with the national side. They've gone through so many campaigns, and they've gone through all the hurt and all the despair and all the the tragic moments of nearly getting there and being nowhere near getting to a major tournament. And I've seen the relief on their faces, and I've seen the players' reactions. I've seen, James McFadden in the studios over in England in tears. I've seen Darren Fletcher the same. I've seen Ryan Christie. If you haven't seen his interview, check his interview on social media. The kid can't speak. So if anyone ever wants to question, what it means to players, club players, international players, what it really means to be a pro, go and check out this kid's interview, because he can't hardly speak. He's in absolute floods of tears, and it came across brilliant.
Yeah, Stevie, it really is.
Seb,
yeah,
Seb,
go ahead.
Seb, you were asking about putting it in context. Anybody who's Scottish, who's under the age of 28 and under, has no idea what we're talking about. You're talking about 2 generations, not just a generation. I mean, think about it. Every Scotsman or woman under the age of, nearly 30 has no idea what it's like to play in a major tournament. That is absolutely wacky, and that shows you how unlucky and how bad it sometimes we've been. So when Don's talking about players crying and how the staff feel, I mean, listen, it's an absolutely tremendous achievement.
Stevie, given how pessimistic you were yesterday, I know today's like just a result, but do you see it as a sign of things to come? Maybe this team could make some noise at Euros, or are we getting too far ahead of ourselves?
I think we should just enjoy this. We don't know. We'll put it this way: if the nucleus of this squad was to play in the next Euros, then the only thing we know is they're going to give us every single thing they've got, and with the rub of the green, we might actually get. There's a possibility we could get through, because you don't go to Serbia as big underdogs as they were and produce a performance like that unless you have ability. We're talking about not the ability that maybe we had previously, but there's ability. I mean, look at the goal Christie scored, but the attitude and the organisation of Steve Clarke. You got to praise Steve Clarke big time. When they were getting beat, he was absolutely straight down the line, and when they were winning, he was the same. And when they got an opportunity, he was the same, and he kept them in an even keel the whole way through, and they've produced a performance. So this squad of players has got an attitude together, it's got a culture together. So if the majority of the squad can stay together when this Euros comes around and eventually is played, then there's no question we have a chance.
Don, just because Stevie mentioned it, Steve Clarke, obviously a successful evening for him, but still getting some criticism. I guess it's never easy when you're the manager. Yeah,
no, I was obviously, as you know, Sebi, I was on social media and on Twitter following, obviously the performance and watching the performance and reading the tweets coming in. And I guess it's just fans just caught up in the moment. They were having a little go at his substitutions. Lyndon Dykes was tremendous at bullying his centre-halves, but he was brilliant in his defensive duties as well. And we obviously lost a header in the 89th minute, and people were saying, well, why did he take him off, and why did he take Christie off? And he took his best players off who were causing havoc at the top end of the pitch. But the flow of the game and the context of the game, the boys that were playing had put such a shift in. I thought he was wise, to go to the bench and look for fresh legs and try and hang on. Because it was only, I think, it was the 83rd, 85th minute when he made his substitution. So you're looking at 5-8 minutes, including injury time max. And you'd like to think them players would have done a job, and they certainly did. And as Stevie said, it was only Scott McTominay, who was brilliant on the night, who lost his marker, Luka Jovic for the header. But what I would say about Scott McTominay in praising his performance, if you look back and see the Christie goal, it actually starts from Scott McTominay, who was playing centre-half, breaking out of his position and being as a sort of an emergency right winger. He was that high up the pitch. He was trying to make things happen. As Stevie said before, and as Ian said before, there was only one team from the first whistle that looked like they really wanted to win the game, and they made Serbia look like a really average side, which they're not.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.